And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, our Week 7 reaction show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game. We were talking about Zach's look while we were watching the 1 o'clock games over at my house. And I was saying, like you got a vibe from Zach today. Like, I don't really know what it was. And finally it hit me right before we started.
Like a drummer.
No, it was a cool vibe. But now I'm actually just seeing the theater thug from Drake and Josh. Do you remember that episode way back in the day? Like, he looks like the theater thug. If you go back and watch that episode, that's Zach right now.
I don't think I see it as much as you see it.
Oh, I 100% see it. Ziggy, you're not a Drake and Josh guy, are you?
Never seen it.
Dude.
I haven't seen it much. I've seen a couple episodes. I know who you're talking about.
The theater thug episode is phenomenal. Zach's the theater thug right now. It did go from like musician to
I see more of like a
Nickelodeon
musician.
villain, but yeah, that's kind of what I got from Zach today. And
I feel like you've said that about Zach in the past, because you said that once, and then I went to look up theater thug online, see what it looked like again. So maybe you said
you
it.
just have that thug mentality.
I guess
Maybe
so.
you do.
I mean, yeah, now that you're in the concrete business too, it's like a little edge to you.
Yeah,
Who knows? So week 7, the 1 o'clock games are done. The 4 o'clock games are going right now. Arizona just took the lead on Seattle. There goes my survivor pick. I'm not happy about that pick at the moment, but it's a long game. We'll start off with the Ravens and the Lions, and Jack wasn't here for the Week 7 prediction show. All three of us, Ziggy, Zach, and myself, picked the Lions to win this game. Jack was high on Baltimore. You said 2.5 was one of your locks of the weekend, and 2.5 was more than a lock. 38-6, Baltimore trounces Detroit, and I'm happy about it because I was getting sick and tired of hearing the Lions fans. I know that you've been miserable forever, but I was getting sick and tired of hearing how you run the NFC North. You're on the same level as the Niners and Eagles. We said you were probably closer to the Cowboys. But Ziggy, I know you thought they were going to go in and push around Baltimore today.
Yeah,
well, it was just the opposite.
On this show, we're honest about our takes. I was dead wrong about this one. We'll talk more about this. I'm still not too worried about the Lions, but this was one of the worst performances in the season by an NFL team. If it weren't for the Broncos' performance against the Dolphins, I might say it was the worst performance in the NFL this season. They looked unprepared. They played bad football. They had bad penalties. They had no offense. They had no defense. Just absolutely nothing went right for this team.
Well, what did we hear from all the Lions fans this week too? It was the criticism on Detroit was they haven't beaten a good team this year and people said Kansas City had Kelsey and Chris Jones out. Detroit fans were saying, yeah, but we're beating up on average teams. Seattle, we should have won except for the turnovers. This was your chance to go in, we said, and make a statement against Baltimore, and to just get walloped like this. It's a tough look for Detroit, but on the other side, Lamar Jackson right now is playing like the MVP of the league. He just looks unbelievable. We know the Ravens have these stinker games once in a while, like they had against the Colts. But for the most part, this year, he's just been sensational. And I think he's earned his contract. We saw a lot of big contracts this offseason between him, Herbert, Hurts, Burrow got one. I don't think anyone in the league has earned their money more than Lamar this offseason. And right now, Baltimore might be the front runner in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl.
I mean, as you said before, I didn't see 38-6 coming. I didn't see 28 zip at the half, but I did like Baltimore. I'm impressed I wasn't here on the last episode to say it.
You could, yeah, you would have had a good look there.
You opened the show with how you're sick of this Lions talk. They're 5-1. They're the pretty boys.
But I started to believe it a little bit though.
So did a lot of people. I bet you Baltimore had the same exact mentality. They're sick of these guys. They're in our home stadium now. And Baltimore tends to do this. They have these games where they look flat out amazing. And they're playing at home, first place in the North. They were probably so up to get these guys. They've been the talk of the league for weeks. It was just a very good Baltimore spot to me.
Lamar Jackson this year too, though, it's not just Lions fans are saying, oh, let's try and shut down the run. We were talking about Detroit having the #1 rush defense going into week 7 and how that's Baltimore's game. They lead the league in rushing attempts per game. They went in and ran for about 150 yards. So they weren't able to stop that. But it's Lamar's passing this year. I've always thought he's a very good passer. I know that you've had you've had your moments with him, but you're a Steelers fan, so you don't always give him the credit. But this year, I mean, Lamar ripped off 357 today and 3 touchdowns in the air. when he's throwing the ball as well as he has so far this season, it just takes a couple guys in the Ravens receiving corps to step up. And you're talking about one of the most versatile offenses in all of football who can destroy you in the air and also on the ground, have the most explosive quarterback in the league. So right now, I was wrong with the Lions winning this game. Baltimore, to me, who else like is up there right now in your AFC contenders? It's got to be them and the Chiefs.
What was so amazing today with the Ravens was the fact how they were able to play offense the way they did, both on the ground and through the air, and then shut down one of the better offenses in the league the entire game on defense, too. Yeah. Just played a three-dimensional game for 60 minutes.
Ziggy, who would you say right now in the AFC, you're looking at the contenders to go to the Super Bowl, post-week, or I know we're still in the middle of week 7 right now. There's some other games going on. But you look at Baltimore, is there anyone you definitively put above them?
So it's tough, right? Because I don't think any team in the NFL has put together as complete a game as this. We're against a good run defense that hasn't given up 100 yards all season. You put up 100 yards in the first half. Against the top 3 offense in the NFL, you hold them to 1 touchdown for the first time in 18 weeks.
Sheesh.
Where against Lamar Jackson is an incredible looking pocket passer. The run game's good. Like everything worked well. I don't think we've seen a game like this. Now, I will say, I think I have the Dolphins up there because even though the Dolphins aren't as good defensively, their offense is just so incredible that I think they can keep up with anyone. I know they had a bad game in Buffalo, and they're not going to be putting up 70 every week, but they have one of the truly elite units in the NFL. Otherwise, I mean, when you can't count on Mahomes not being on, so you have to put the Chiefs up there. But the Bills are inconsistent. There's really not anyone else left. For me, it's just those 3 teams at the top of the AFC.
So right now, you're drawing a line underneath those guys? No Cincinnati in there yet?
I got to see Joe Burrow put together a few more healthy games. So they could be up there. The Chiefs, I don't feel comfortable in what I've seen, but who can bet against them, right? We've just seen too much from what this team can do. But otherwise, nobody has impressed me nearly as much as these Ravens.
I mean, it's tough for me to put Baltimore as the AFC favorite after today. Like, it was a fantastic game, and Ziggy's right, the most complete game that we've seen by any team.
Maybe outside of the Dolphins.
Maybe outside the Niners or like what the Dolphins did, yeah. But this is a team, and you look at history too, and this season, they do lay their clunkers. Yes, they played great, but they've also played some stinkers. I mean, look at San Fran. They beat Dallas 42-10 and lost to Cleveland. Like, you never know.
Well, they're so heavily, their offense relies so much on Lamar being an MVP level player.
And if he is, like, if they play like today, yes, of course. But they're inconsistent. And look at history. History backs that up. I mean, they've lost to the Steelers. They've lost to the Colts. I mean, I pumped the brakes a little bit. Today was awesome, but I'm not going to put them as AFC favorites. Clear cut.
I mean, from a Steelers fan, that also sounds. I think you're right, though. I think you're right.
They played a great game. They were awesome today.
And it's funny we talk about how every team right now this season has kind of had their bad game. And so if you look from the Lions' point of view, if you're a Lions fan right now, you're probably sitting back going, God, do we belong? Because we just got mauled by really the one fully healthy, good team we played this year. It depends how you want to count Seattle. I think you're okay if you're a Detroit fan. I believe that you just got to flush this one. Say, yeah, Baltimore had one of those games where they're on, but maybe you pump the brakes and say, compared to Philly or San Francisco, we're not on that level yet. Because I don't think Philly or San Francisco gets routed by Baltimore. But the Lions overall today, take a step back, but don't lose faith because you still got. I mean, you should still run away with the NFC North. It's not a good division. And it's just one of those games.
In these cases, for me, it's what's super important is how you respond the following couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like, if this team goes out and they win the next 2 games, totally fine. But if you let this now, if you lose the next couple, that's a cause for concern.
Well, they got Vegas and the Chargers coming up with a bye week in between. So Vegas next week is a get-right game at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely have to be able to come out and win these games, right? Seeding can do a lot of favors for you when you're trying to get through the NFL playoffs. And as a team, having confidence and belief is important. Their next 3 games are all highly winnable. They host the Raiders, they go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, and they host the Bears. I'm hoping to see them play well, respond well, win those 3 games. If they can do that, I mean, here's the thing, right? The Lions are only going to get one more chance this season to play a team that basically everyone agrees is pretty good in the Cowboys. Now, I know there'll be people in the comments saying the Cowboys stink, we hate them, but like they're a good team. The Lions are not going to get that chance to get the marquee win. This was it. This was really their chance this season until December 30th when things could be totally different.
But also,
so I just hope that, I hope that in Detroit, they're not giving up just because they saw this.
They're not giving up, I doubt. But also, it's different from college. We're big college football fans, and you need marquee wins. The NFL, it doesn't matter. It's wins, losses. It's get the seeding. There's no committee in the NFL. It's like,
for me, it's like the easier schedule, the better. I mean, if you can go 13-4, 14-3, get the 1 or 2 seed. I'd rather that.
And I don't think that this is a situation where the Vikings last year were winning all those close games, and a lot of people were concerned whether or not they're frauds. Detroit's put together a couple really good football games this year, and today just came out and didn't play well. But we've seen the Ravens struggle.
Baltimore does this.
We've seen Cincinnati struggle, Buffalo struggling, the Eagles had everyone has these games. It's just, you got caught at the wrong time.
And Baltimore does this. I've seen Baltimore do this a million times.
The Bills, we just mentioned them, with a really bad loss at the Patriots today. It's a weird Buffalo team right now. They are
loss for me.
Congratulations to Zach. It's a huge game tonight with Dolphins-Eagles now. Dolphins can go up 2 games in the AFC East. And Zach, it's funny listening to Zach watch Bills games because he just goes, God, against the Dolphins, they look unbelievable. And everyone else since that, like the Giants game, they lost to the Jaguars. They should have lost that Giants game. And Buffalo, against a New England team that has been struggling as much as anyone else in the league right now, they blow the game against Mac Jones and let Mac go drive down the field in the game-winning touchdown drive. Are you concerned about Buffalo right now, Ziggy? Because if I'm a Bills fan, at 4-3, it feels like when you have Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, these quarterbacks, that you should always be pretty confident. But at some point, you got to look and say, all right, we got to fix these problems.
Yeah, here's what's scary to me. This Bills team, I think, they obviously have the potential to be very good, right? They blew out the Dolphins, they blew out the Commanders, they blew out the Raiders. But if you're counting games now, Josh Allen has had more bad games than good games this season.
Yeah.
Right? I just listed the 3 good games, but he was bad against the Jets. Maybe that's forgivable. The Jets defense isn't so good. He was bad against the Jaguars. That's worse. He was bad against the Giants. That's even worse. And he was bad against the Patriots, where you'd think they'd have a good defense, but they have so many injuries and they have to keep playing next guy up that it's not nearly as impressive as like some of those 2010s Patriots defenses. So, I'm definitely worried, right? In order to win the NFL, you have to be able to string good games together, right? The playoffs are single elimination. You just sort of go up and you have to win every single game. I am starting to lose my confidence that Josh Allen and the Bills will be able to put together enough good games to really make noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to be concerned. This team, unlike a team like the Lions and the Dolphins and the Cowboys, I'll get to what I'm saying in a sec. The Bills have looked bad in too many games thus far for me not to be concerned. Mm-hmm. The Jets, the Giants, the Jaguars. Today, you look at what happened when Dallas lost in San Francisco. They came home and beat New England. Or when the Dolphins lost in Buffalo, they came home and killed the Giants.
Mm-hmm. The two teams here that the Bills have played very close or lost to.
Buffalo lost to the Jaguars, comes home, plays a bad game against the Giants, who are terrible, and then loses in New England, who are terrible. So, of course, you got to be concerned. They've looked pretty bad.
No, and Ziggy, I know you gave Allen a little bit of a pass for the Jets game, but I mean that second half, turning the ball over 3 or 4 times the way he did, that game
was bad. I mean, it's just, but you can say it's week 1. It's a really good Jets defense, but it's not good.
Yeah. So this Bills team, if I'm a fan of Buffalo right now, I'm a little concerned. The defense is a roller coaster at the moment. It's really. They've had moments where they allowed Tyrod Taylor to go right down the field and try and win the game last weekend. And they should have. They got down to the 1. And now Mac goes on a giant. Mac was 25 for 30 for 272 and 2 touchdowns today. People have been talking about this Patriots offense as maybe the worst in football, and they go for almost 30 this afternoon.
The good teams, the Super Bowl contending teams, or the hopefuls, should be able to come back and play a good game after a clunker. And the Bills haven't. They've laid back-to-back clunkers.
Well, the problem that we said Buffalo had last week on the show, in the prediction show, was consistency. We said the Bills sometimes show up, and then when they're winning by 30, or they are just a shell of themselves, maybe they have found a little consistency because they've had 3 pretty bad games in a row here.
It's too they're too like that not to be worried right now.
Yeah, it's and then New England on their side, just for a second, I don't have too much on them. I think they just caught Buffalo on a bad day again, and good for Mac to go in and almost throw for 300 because he's got a lot of flack this year.
Coach Belichick, 300th win.
Yeah, 300 wins for Belichick. Ziggy, you said he got a deal this offseason that came out today?
Yeah, well, so we don't know the numbers, but it seems like Bill Belichick this offseason got a mega extension. They're happy with what he's doing there. But I don't know, Paul. You talk about this victory. This feels a lot more like the Battle of Catalonian Plains than the Battle of Alesia for the Patriots.
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, crap. I got to...
Okay, so some guys here clearly don't know Roman history. Like the Battle of Catalonian Plains was like the last major victory of the Western Roman Empire, like before its utter collapse. Meanwhile, like the Battle of Alesia, like Caesar's great victory against the Gallic tribes. Okay, so maybe we don't know much Roman history, but here's the point. I feel like the Patriots empire is really not doing well. I'm not counting on Bill to turn things around, even though Robert Kraft seems to. But hey, like I said last week, that going to Foxborough and playing shouldn't feel very scary for these Bills. Well, clearly it should, right? Yeah. There's something mythical about Bill Belichick in Foxborough, even to this day. It like haunts every single team in the AFC East.
It is crazy. It's
I don't know,
still
man.
when they're playing poorly, they find ways to give the AFC East teams fits. It's a little bizarre.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
But the Patriots 2 wins this year, right? Bills and Jets. It's strange.
Yeah, that is strange.
Let's talk a little bit about
guess who's going to Foxborough and about what are they going to do? Like, Zach, do you know when the Dolphins go to Foxborough?
They won there. They won there already.
Do you think you'll beat?
So yeah, okay.
You feel pretty good about that game, or going into New England?
No, they won there already. They won.
Sorry. But you feel okay against New England?
Yeah. We beat them up.
Bill Belichick in Miami. That's what's coming up next week. That's like the absolute opposite. Well, he's good everywhere except Miami.
That was like 38-10.
Your boy Desmond Ridder had another game-winning drive today, despite having it was a weird day for Desmond Ridder believers because on the one hand, you have the touchdown drive to win the game, or the field goal drive to win the game with a Younghoe Koo 51-yarder as the clock expired. But also you had 3 turnovers in the red zone, 1 for 5 for Atlanta in the red zone today. So it's strange that a huge win for Atlanta to move to 4-3, take first place in the NFC South. They do it all with Bijan Robinson basically out of this game. He wasn't feeling well, apparently. And on the other hand, you go and you watch the Falcons recently turning the ball over a lot of problems with Ridder and ball security right now. And so if you're a Falcons fan, it's a great win, but I'm still so hesitant to say I believe in them and beyond anything than an NFC South contender because I don't trust their quarterback at all.
Yeah, it's tough to say they're anything more, but they are absolutely the favorite in the NFC South. They should have won today by more, as we discussed while watching that game. Of course, you don't want to see Desmond Ridder turn the ball over 3 times down where you should be scoring. 2 of them being fumbles. 1 a super lazy fumble. But that's all I think it really is. It's just sloppiness and carelessness, which hopefully will not continue.
Yeah.
But he was able to get them down there.
He did that against the Packers too.
Yeah, like pretty consistently.
The Texans, I'm sorry.
Pretty consistently. He got them down there. This should have been a double-digit win, and then he made up for it. Game-winning drive, got Younghoe Koo in position, won the game. So yeah, the turnovers you don't want to see, sloppy stuff, but at the end of the day, for the most part, I thought he played a pretty good game.
I mean, 19 for 25 for 250 yards. Yeah, it wasn't. It was a good game for Desmond Ridder, other than the fumbles.
That one fumble where he was going to the end, that's some fluky stuff.
It was weird.
He let up. He got lazy.
The Winfield punch out was weird. The botched handoff was also weird. But still, those are huge turnovers. Like that can't.
Yeah, like
happen.
You can't make those. You can't make those. But
to win these games, he was actually the first player since 2000 with 3 red zone turnovers to win the game.
But in the NFL, though, like if the Falcons win the division, right? They get the number 4 seed. In the NFL, anybody at home can beat anybody. Like the Falcons can go to the divisional round if they make the playoffs. But that's probably where I cap them.
Well, and Desmond Ridder at home too.
And Ridder at home, yeah. But I cap him in the divisional round. Then they go to Philly and lose by like 20.
I don't know, right? Like, so like I get the thought that they'll go to Philly and get blown out, but this is genuinely a playoff caliber defense. Like we have seen the Falcons defense week in, week out play really well. And you have to keep in mind in this game, things would have gone differently if Bijan Robinson was able to play. I get that he was on the active roster and took like 3 snaps, but it was very clear he wasn't feeling well, and they had to pull him almost
Did you see
immediately.
at the end of the game? Did you see at the very end of the game when he got that one carry for about 3 yards and it looked like he just looked like death?
Yeah.
Something was wrong.
If you looked at the internet, there were people saying that like this was an inside job by the gambling companies to like screw things over. No, like the Falcons clearly didn't think this was going to happen. So once he's back, things will be better for their offense a little bit. But you have to worry about this, right? Arthur Smith was asked to evaluate Desmond Ridder, and he said this, Desmond Ridder is one of those guys who finds a way to win. He's tough. He's a winner. That means, you know what that means? That means somehow we've won our games, but I can't find a single positive thing to say about this kid, so I'll just point to our record. Like, look, I mean, he's not Zach Wilson out there, right? But Desmond Ridder is not generating anything that helps this team win.
No, but you know what? You know what I'll give him credit for is in 3 of their wins this year, he's performed late in the fourth quarter to get the job done. I mentioned the Packer game and then took it back for a second, but no, in the Packer game, he went on a touchdown drive late in the game to take the lead. He did it against the Texans. He did it against Tampa Bay. When the game's been on the line, it's very easy for someone to make a mistake. And with all the turnovers they've had, he throws interceptions and they lose those games. You could easily be looking at like a 1-6 or a 2-5 Falcons team.
You said they're 4-2.
But to his credit, they're 4-3 in first place. So there is you have to give him credit. He's made big plays when it matters. It's just, again, another one of these guys. Get more consistent. And the turnovers today weren't as bad as some of the other turnovers we've seen. They were a little flukier, like you said.
But even he completed that pass to Kyle Pitts.
Oh, won the game.
Zach Wilson probably gets picked off.
Maybe not the new Zach Wilson.
Nah, he probably still gets picked off.
Yeah, but I mean, just like, look, I get that people talk about this, and fair enough, but to win games in the NFL, you have to have more than one good drive every game.
Yes.
Desmond Ridder is one of those players who you can count on to put together 1 or 2 good drives every game. I think this is why in most of their games, they're scoring like either 6 or 7 points or like 15, right? This is basically where they've been. They've only gone over 20 points in, I think, 2 or 3 games this season, right? Like one of them was that Texans victory. The other was the Packers, I think. So like they're not putting up a ton of points. You got to get more drives if you want to do anything in the playoffs. But hey, once you're there, if Ritter's the guy who can occasionally make the plays, just get lucky. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, getting him is the biggest part, but to your point there, Ziggy, is probably why I'd say they're definitely the NFC South favorite because the division stinks, but I'd cap them at a divisional round.
So you're willing to say they're the favorite over the Bucs still? I know today they should have won by more. They had the red zone turnovers.
The Bucs, I think the Bucs are pretty bad.
Oh, come on. You're walking back after just one loss?
I'm taking them back. It's not one loss. The 2 good teams they've played, they got mopped by.
Yeah, but Atlanta got mopped by the Lions too.
Yeah, they let them mop the Bucs today. Today was not. It wasn't a 3-point game today.
It should have been.
They were the much better team,
especially without Bijan.
The Bucs have no offense. Their defense okay. They have no offense.
Dude, the Falcons really have offense.
The only way the Bucs are winning this division is if they can go to Atlanta and win. This is why like losing these head-to-head matchups is tough because I think that's really more or less Saints fans aren't going to want to hear this. I feel like the competition is just between the Falcons and the Bucs. The Saints have looked out of sorts for a while now. I get that they beat the Patriots, but otherwise you're coming off loss to the Jaguars, loss to the Texans, big loss to the Buccaneers, 1-point victory over the Packers, 1-point victory over the Titans, 3-point victory over the Panthers. Like this team is not good, right? So it's between the Falcons and the Bucs. The Bucs have lost their home part of the head-to-head. That is just difficult to overcome.
Falcons beat Green Bay.
No. Oh, no, I'm talking about the Saints.
No, it's Green Bay beat the
Saints.
Green Bay
beat the Saints, right? That's a big comeback.
Yeah.
Okay. The final game we'll talk about here, the Browns and the Colts are the real thriller, 39-38. The Cleveland wound up winning. It was funny.
Battle of the backups.
Yeah, it was funny. You had the turnover by PJ Walker late in the fourth quarter on the game what turned out to be the game-winning drive. It looked like he had a strip sack. Indianapolis recovered. I actually went right over to the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom. I hear Zach going like, "Uh-oh, it's coming back," or what do you say, illegal touching or illegal contact? Yeah. And I came out, and I didn't really hear what Zach said, and I saw on television. I'm like, wait a second. Browns had the ball at the 20-yard line. What's happening here? And it was really a torturous drive for Colts fans because you wind up having another couple penalties later on. It's 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. You stop them on second, stop them on third, and then just by a ball's length, you get into the end zone on 4th and goal with Kareem Hunt. A brutal loss for the Colts who have been kind of a surprise team this year. They put up, we were talking about 38 points on what has been the best defense in football the first 6 weeks of the season. So there are positive takeaways, but just a tough loss for Indianapolis.
It's such a strange game, too. Like, you figure if the Colts are able to score 38 points against the Browns
Walker
and their backup quarterback, it's a runaway. I was impressed by the Browns, to say the least. This is a team where you look at, okay, this is defense that's very good, but probably won't score a lot of points. And they're able to score almost 40 with their backup QB on the road. I think it's an impressive win. Especially, nonetheless, like, I liked the Colts today. I thought they were in a good spot. I was sensing a bit of a hangover game from the Browns. You beat a big team at home, you come on the road, and that didn't happen.
They were dead. The Browns were dead. They were brought back to life a few times. I do think the penalty, by the way, the illegal contact on Amari Cooper was a good call. Like, that should have been a flag. I know Colts fans are going to be disappointed, but that was a penalty. It was just the way the rest of the drive transpired. I don't think it was a pass interference in the end zone.
It's funny how when Watson comes out, they proceed to score 40 points.
So, Ziggy, when you look at the Browns right now, the Deshaun Watson situation is really weird. You said Stefanski said that he rushed Watson back to playing.
Yeah, so this was a weird situation. Stefanski came out and said, I pushed Watson to play. I shouldn't have. But then it seems that Watson wanted to come back out later in the game, and Stefanski said no. But here's the thing. All of them are going to be tying themselves in knots in Cleveland for the following reason. Deshaun Watson has been terrible.
Oh, boy.
And I don't mean kind of bad.
Are you going to go where I'm thinking?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So, like, Deshaun Watson, this game, he was 1 for 5 with 5 yards and an interception. And that was not his worst performance of the season, just because he got pulled out before he could do any more harm to this team. Like, he is terrible. But the Browns have no escape from Deshaun Watson, right? You look at his contract, and, like, they are tied to this guy for the next 3 years of cap hits of $64 million each. They probably can't afford that. So they have to look long and hard at extending him even more. Because if they want to cut him next offseason, they can with a $200 million dead cap hit. So he is stuck on this team. I'm not going to get on
him too much for today if he's playing injured.
But when has he played good for them?
No, he hasn't really. He really hasn't played that well. But today is not the day where I'm going to go, okay, Deshaun Watson, like, we need to figure it out.
But this is the thing, right? Like, Deshaun Watson has not looked good in a Browns uniform at all. Right? Over how many games has he played with this team? Like 11 now? He's got 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 12. It's something around there with like 1,700 yards. The dude is just not a good quarterback. And they are stuck paying him like one of the best players in the NFL for years to come.
The Browns are one of the strangest 4-2 teams probably the strangest 4-2 team we have this season right now, or winning record team. With like some bad losses, a great win against San Francisco. The Pittsburgh game was like they probably should have won that game, but you guys had all the turnovers and defensive touchdowns. Just like I have no confidence in their offense to be able to go up and down the field, but their defense makes so many plays. Myles Garrett was not human today with the field goal block. He basically scored the touchdown in the strip sack in the end zone. He did everything he could to win that game for Cleveland. So on one hand, you have a defense that can shut people down. I know the Colts scored a lot today, but for the most part, shut people down this year. It's just a matter of finding some sort of stability on offense. And Cleveland could very well be a team that can make a run in the playoffs. I don't trust the quarterback situation there, though. And I feel like that's a lot of the teams we've talked about today. Atlanta, I don't trust the quarterbacks. Who was the other one that we mentioned off the top? We talked about the Bucs a little bit too. I don't really trust anyone there. Like the Colts, there's a lot of teams that are going to get to the playoffs with quarterbacks that I just don't believe in.
What was the first game we brought up?
I was trying to think back. It was Baltimore. I was like, yeah, I trust Lamar.
Right.
I trust Lamar.
It's funny. Today, Ziggy and I, in a span of about 3 minutes, I'd say, both took back future takes. Me with the NFC South champion Bucs, and Ziggy with the Deshaun Watson bounce back season.
Yeah, but if you're I wonder about this. If you're the Browns here, like, I don't know how you're supposed to approach the rest of the season, right? Like, they keep winning games. And some of these victories, like the victory today, I don't think was particularly good. Like, beating the 49ers is a great victory, right? Even injured Joe Burrow, beating them 24-3, that's a great victory. right? Like this team keeps putting together good wins. I think you just have to ride it out, hope that the run game can put up 3 touchdowns every week like they did this week. Try and let Stefanski be creative and just let your run game and defense take you as far as they can go.
No, that's what you have to hope for.
That's how they'd win games.
But they're also, if Watson, when Watson's healthy, he's going to play. I don't think there's any question about
that.
No,
I think Walker's better.
They have to play him.
No, you have to play Watson. But if Watson plays well, Amari Cooper, like the receiving core isn't super talented, but it's good enough. Amari Cooper is a very good receiver.
Yeah, there's nothing that leads me to believe Watson's going to play well.
Does anyone on the Browns offense scare you though? I will like. Does Amari Cooper? He would be the one. I'm not really.
It was Nick Chubb.
It was Chubb.
It was Chubb.
But right now, the offense, I don't see anyone that I'm scared of. I think Cooper's very, very good.
I mean, you watch the end of that when Chubb went down. You watched the end of the game against the Steelers, and I was able to tell right away this team without Nick Chubb is going to have a tough time doing much. I just think I'm not a huge believer in them. Like you said, they were dead today. There's no way I was shocked
they were bailed out with a couple calls. And so, look, it should have been a penalty, the big ones. But, yeah, I mean, it's still a win's a win. You take your wins.
Of course,
all you have to do is get in, and their defense is good enough to win games.
And they're 4-2.
They're kind of a little bit... Do you see a little bit? Nah, probably not. I was debating whether or not I see some of the Jets and the Browns, but like to a degree, I think the Browns are just a better version.
Browns are probably a little better than the Jets.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Ziggy? Closer?
It's the thing about the Browns. I'll say this: there has to still be at least a little bit of hope that Deshaun Watson can return to the player he used to be.
Oh, that's what the whole season relies on.
Yeah. We haven't seen. I guess maybe that's equivalent to the Jets' hope. As misguided as it is, that Aaron Rodgers is going to return from that Achilles injury.
Well, that's insane.
But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one player I think is really not getting enough attention to this Browns offense in all seriousness, Elijah Moore. He had one of maybe the play of the game for the Browns. They have like that 30-yard reception on 3rd and 10 when the Browns were backed up in the third quarter. Like he's one of those players who I want to keep an eye on because he's explosive. He's a really interesting player. And he's the sort of guy who, when you've got Amari Cooper and David Njoku as sort of like target hogs that can draw attention, he could absolutely do more than him, right? Philip Walker made a great pass to him. If we can see a few more of those, there's definitely something to be said for the Browns offense. It's just...
Yeah, and I know we've been a little down on them, sort of down on them during this segment, but to be fair to Cleveland, they just beat San Francisco with their backup quarterback playing and now found a way to win a game against Indianapolis with PJ Walker coming in unexpectedly. You still have to give them credit. Like winning this game it's a great win for Cleveland to go to 4-2 on the year right after the San Francisco game. Yeah, they're very much in the race, in the thick of things.
Especially to keep Baltimore 1-2.
Oh yeah, with Baltimore, you're right there with Baltimore. So it's a great day for the Browns, and I mean I know you're not happy for them, but like
we're sitting here 3-2 as well. I mean we're sitting here 3-2 as well.
So yeah,
Can I ask one question about the Colts before we move on from this game?
Sure.
So the Colts had a lot of breakout performances today, right? Jonathan Taylor was back. Josh Downs looked really, really good. Gardner Minshew, I mean, I know he couldn't get it done, but he still put up 305 yards and 2 touchdowns on clearly the best defense in the league. If you're a Colts fan looking like the weak AFC South, is there any chance after this game? I know it was a tough loss. I know you're coming off back-to-back losses. Do you see any hope after what they were able to do today?
Oh, yeah. I think the Colts are a good football team. They should have won. They should be 4-3 right now. And we talked about at the top, they put up 38 points on the best defense in football.
I think the Colts have a lot of talent and are very solid and can make the playoffs. But it's just tough. You go back to the quarterback situation. I don't know. Like you talk about Ridder and not trusting a QB. I don't know how much I can trust Gardner Minshew when it matters.
No, I don't. I don't. And it's going to come down to, does Jacksonville turn it on? And Jacksonville has been turning it up a little bit lately. I can see Jacksonville running away with the division, but I think the Colts, Titans, and Texans are very similar teams to me. So if as long as Jacksonville doesn't go up another notch, then yeah, like the Colts have been playing decent football. For
Good
the most
enough
part.
to probably win the AFC South.
Good enough. You look, they've lost 3 or 4, so I don't have a ton of faith in Indianapolis, but they're definitely still a team that should compete in the AFC South, at least for a few more weeks. Again, the schedule for all these teams are not that bad in this division. It's not a bad year for the AFC South. So we'll see what happens. The Richardson injury is just such a crusher because I think that with him, they could have had a chance as he got better game by game. But, right now, they are what they are. They're still figuring it out. I think Steichen has looked like a pretty good coach so far. So that's a win right there. All right, that'll wrap up our Week 7 reaction show to the 1 o'clock games. Maybe we'll do tomorrow. We're not sure. We mess around with the Monday recording, but we'll definitely be back on Thursday for the Week 8 preview. And thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Every subscriber goes a long way. We appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. Peace.